Hey my immortal nerds, is it a monk? No. Is it a crusader? No. It is our best class in Diablo Immortal, the Barbarian with crazy new essences. Resolving of dots is now easily possible with the new Demoralize essences, and the skill got buffed like crazy. That means new PvE builds. Lots of fun, I promise. But is the new stuff any good for PvP? Well, let's check it out together. Spoiler, I'm gonna need your help on that. What is going to happen in this video? First, a quick look at the new stuff, the core mechanics and its impact on our gems and focused sets. Next, a new challenge dungeon and open world speed farm build, both focused on resolving dot damage. After that, we will look into a PvP of an update of an existing build that was not strong enough for a while now, going over to a different PvP build where I'm going to need your support. So let's get into the details. What do we have here? All of the stuff is focused around three skills. You have the Furious Charge, the Sunder and the Demoralize. For the Furious Charge, they invented now, or they brought up the new essences that makes us into a monk channeling skill that lets us sprint very fast if combined wisely and produces a little damage when we run over enemies and knock them up. So not exactly like the monk, because it has its whirly stick and it's producing a lot more damage than we do in here. Next is the Sunder with the shoulder essence that gives us a fire trail, very short fire trail only, but which is only generated when we actually move. So it's nothing for stationary builds. It has a little knock up in there again, so when you run over enemies we can knock them up a bit. And lastly, the Demoralize. I think it's the biggest news we got in here. Three essences focused around it, with a helmet that produces the same as the Sunder skill, a trail of wind damage now, so possible Firestorm builds are incoming and anything, and the main hand and the offhand essences to just boost our Demoralize with attack speed, movement speed and crit chance. So it is the base and the core mechanic to finally get rid of Wrath of the Berserker. But let's see how that plays out. The key player that we have in here is the helmet. Why is it the helmet? Because of its trail, meaning the Demoralize, that hits multiple times when we run over enemies. We now have the chance to utilize our old main hand essence, the Lion's Mane, that resolves damage. We can now trigger it very easy with that headpiece, which leads us to a new focused gem and set build that we can look into it now. We have all of the dot gems that are very good when we want to resolve damage, when we want to resolve dots. Of course, you could have essences of any fire, Sundered Legacy or anything, but the dots itself is a big peak. And with that, we of course look into the set that is dealing a dot itself, the angmet set. A 4-piece angmet set is really good here and helps you. And on top of all of that dot damage we do, we want to make our dots available for a longer time so that they can hit more often. And for that, the 2 pieces come into play. It's first the Mysery Elixier, it's a 1-star gem, and the 2-piece Feasting Baron set that increases the duration of dots by 30% or any harmful effects. So with that, you see, you have a lot of dots that can be resolved with the helmet essence in combination with the main hand essence, the Lion's Mane. And this is the key, this is the new meta that we are talking about today, the resolving damage meta. Taking a deeper look into the Furious Charge essences, you will see that they are not that bad, okay? Maybe they're not good for PvP. I don't see any crazy stuff in here where it gives us a new opportunity, a new build opportunity or anything, because the hit is just too weak. But what it is good at is speed, pure speed. You think at the old Juggernaut build with the old sprint pants, it's doing nearly the same. The only thing is that you can charge this build, this essence, a lot better. So we look at the two pieces, the chest of course to activate it, and the pants to activate it, and the chest to make it last longer, so it regenerates energy. And in this case, energy is important. you cannot use the eternal essences here for Furious Charge, because that are just reducing the cooldown of it, and they are not giving energy to that skill. So you cannot improve it with that stuff any further. The mechanic itself works its best with the sprint and the I think it's trick shot gem that gives you more, lets you channel your channel skills for a longer time, and this is really good here. What you need in it as well is a lot of movement speed and a lot of attack speed, because it's an attack animation that channeling itself, so both help you to move just faster. Next, the Sunder, the shoulder essence, pretty good as well. It potentially cries for any use with Firestorm. So think about the four-piece wildfire set. When you run over enemies, leaving that fire behind you, going then with a whirl to deliver wind damage, or the new head essence to deliver wind damage, you can actually leave that tornadoes behind you. So it's a nice opportunity here that you can use. The mechanic is of course easily with the bitter wind, because you are moving while you are whirling, so your actual attack animation already produces the stuff behind you. It's not so good with any primary build, because you are standing still while you hit, so you will not generate that fire behind you. So you need to move. Anything where you run endlessly or with a whirl. It works then perfectly, of course, with the opportunity to whirl. So the Heartless Terror helmet is good, because the wind damage then is coming from the bitter wind from the whirl, and the Gathering. So then you can just whirl over enemies, pull them in, then you create your tornadoes. They're sucked into that tornadoes, and you can move around freely and dealing damage. Only pity is that the whirlwind is not that good at dealing damage. Still not at the top peak, but it's getting better. And lastly, the Demoralize Resolve stuff. The new helmet with the lion's mane, of course. It's a nice thing, and it can gives you a lot of opportunities. The core mechanic is that you of course combine it with the new main hand and offhand, to give you now a crit and attack speed for that skill. And this is where it gets cool, because before you needed a wrath to get to that movement speed, you needed a wrath to give you the crit with a new helmet with a sneer, and all of that is now kind of puzzled into that Demoralize, so it can really work out. And then you can combine it with anything. You can go with the Shackled Fate, you can go with other crazy combinations, because the core can be used as a base for many builds. And with that said, I can now proudly say, with all the new stuff, the new essences and everything, Whirlwind is back for the Barbarian. There are crazy new builds out there, mainly focused in PvE, of course. And on the first one for challenge dungeons, I want to highlight Auroth video here. He did a very crazy, amazing job with the resolving damage core build to produce a high damage per second in challenge dungeons. So thank you, Auroth. I will highlight that video here. I will link it. Check it out. It includes the deep dive into the whole setup, into every little thing you can tinker to get to your max damage. I will shortly highlight here how that build works, so that you get an idea, and you will see a little build overview at the end, so that you can easily build it afterwards. We have the core pieces, of course, the Demoralized helmet. That is dealing the constant damage, the constant hits behind you, and lets you resolve every dot and everything with the lion's mane. The key player is the ox horns. So we're going with the whirlwind, and with that we need that shoulder to actually deal a huge bleed effect on every third hit. So with a high attack speed we deal that dot a lot, and we resolve it a lot, and you see it gets pretty cool. We have in that build two specialties, which are important to know, that maybe helps you to understand where the damage is coming from. The manifold core is pretty good as a chest, because we have no bleed with the ox, and we can even have a lashed in there or something, so we can get to multiple bleeds in here. But the point is that the damage bonus is not only increasing the whirlwind itself, it's increasing the bleed dot as well. So it increases the damage you deal when you resolve that bleed. So that's why it is a cool thing. It's dealing a lot of damage in here. And the other part is the falling thunder. Auroth takes only the falling thunder in here. He's not taking in any Berg or Sunder Legacy or anything. And you feel like, why is he doing that? Well, if you're only taking the falling thunder, you're not getting only that 28.5% extra damage when your enemy is bleeding. You get the core base attack speed of the Wrath of the Berserker as well, because it's the core skill, it's not modified, it's just an additional effect. And that's why it can work pretty good. Cooldown is very, very long, yes, but you can tinker it with the sets, go with all of the cooldown reductions. It's pretty easy now with the enchant skill, and with all of that gold we are not using anywhere else to get cooldown reduction on your sets, and then it gets usable, and you can time it for the bosses in dungeons or for any yellow red mobs or anything. Okay, core damage is coming from gems and the sets. As initially explained, you need your dot gems. Torment, Viper, Roiling Consequence, Jade, whatever you have to have a dot effect. And with the Mysery Elixier you can make them tick longer, 30% longer. Same goes for the sets. We need the angmet as a separate dot. And every fire dot we have is prolonged by 30%. So it's improving the roiling. You can even go with the Starfire because it has a dot as well, a fire dot. And here we go with the 2-piece Feasting Barons because, again, 30% longer duration of dots. And all of that means more ticks. And all of that means resolving that dot initially on the first attempt. When we put it on the enemy, we have a lot more damage in here. So core mechanic, core damage here explained again. And what is this build good at? It deals a lot of damage to crowds, to mobs, to a lot of mobs. You know, then you can really shine. You deal a huge 10, 50 million, whatever, million damage per second. It's crazy. Where it's not so good, it's the single target. Because once you have dealt your dots, you have resolved it, the dots from the gems, for example, you only have the angmet and the oxhorn dot that you can attach again and resolve again, so your damage will shrink. So what I did here as a little tinkering is I can suggest you to add the wolf heart. It gives you more damage for single targets because your wall is dealing a lot of hits, and that wolf heart is ticking constantly. It's a good extra damage. And what you can do is instead of placing a 2-piece Vithus, you could go with the 2-piece seeds. That means all of the other durations, if you enchanted your sets, and this is a precondition, if you have enough beneficial effect on your legendaries and enchanted your sets, then you can kick out the 2-piece Vithus, because all of the other skills are taking long enough. They are still at 100% uptime. Only the Wrath is not 100% uptime, and you have kind of 7-second cooldown before, and then you have 9.5-second cooldown without the Vithus. So if you time it correctly on the bosses, you will lose nothing, but you will gain 30% damage on single targets with that seeds. So that's why I think it's better to reduce the damage a bit for the crowd and enlarge it for the single target to be effective in challenge dungeons. Cool, so check out Auroth video if you want to have the deep insights. Otherwise, here just check the build overview. I put in everything here, the core essences, of course, 4-piece angmet, 2-piece baron, 2-piece seeds. You can go for the eternal wrath and the whirlwind range, that helps you a lot. Gems, as explained, dot focused skills anyway of wall, and go for the new paragon tree to deal more damage with your dots. You can make them explode, you can increase the damage by 10% and so on. So this is a pretty good thing to do. And of course there are variants in here, okay? Some, like the chains, more want to go with the burning tail and pants and the shackled fate instead of the manifold and the snowdrifter. But check out, what is important is that you have any kind of loss of control, okay? And here Auroth referred to the Snowdrifter and put in the sprint, which is a nice idea because he can now chill the enemies, which is a loss of control, and make the reforges of the loss of control damage work. So it's a nice and smart way to go. But again, you could switch out Manifold and Snowdrifter to the Shackled Fate stuff, and then you're anyway good to go. You have kind of a similar damage, but yeah, I like that combination a lot more because of cooldowns and the core damage function. Next, we're going into a variation of that whole resolve stuff, and for that, and I don't know if I'm too slow, if I'm getting too old for this or something, I don't know, but Indus made already the video on it, and he's done a great job building that one-shot everything build, and it's really nice. I copied it, of course, to try it out, and yeah, thank you for that. I will link you that video here as well. Click on it, watch it. You have the detailed guide in there. I'm just giving you a high flight over the whole topic so that you have an idea and can think about it if it's good for you or not. So again, farming build that is focused around the new helmet to resolve dots with the lion's mane together. Main difference here is that you are focused on movement. You don't want to deal the max damage, you just want to kill the enemies in one shot, like his build name says. What you want for that is a Shackled Fate again. Here the Shackled Fate is very, very useful because you're running open world. You don't want to make that zigzag through the whole map. You want to just run and pull everyone to you. For that, Hell's Legacy is really nice. It leaves that fire trail behind you. It's a dot that gets resolved as well, and it makes sure that if you missed out anyone and the people start running behind you, they are crossing the fire, that fire trail, and get your dot with that over the Viper. So it's anyway good, even if you can't resolve that damage anymore. Mostly it will kill them anyway on a longer time duration. And we're going with the Sunder Legacy because it's a nice fire dot as well and gets resolved and is dealing a huge amount of initial damage when you just pass that enemies. All of that gets instantly applied to the enemies because of the Shackled Fate. Core damage, again, same thing, okay, nothing changes. The core dot gems, Torment, Viper, Roiling, Starfire, Jade, and so on. The Mysery to prolong, Angmets to deal another set dot, and the Feasting Barons to increase the dot duration to make that hit when it gets resolved heavier. What we want to do here is now we go with the two-piece Vithus. It's just a lot more relaxing to have that full capacity of cooldowns, to not be like I need to click it now instantly because it's running off. Two-piece Vithus is a lot more chilly here instead of the seats. And we don't have any wall anyway, so Vithus is a good choice here. Banquet could be another choice if you have that crazy beneficial and cooldown reduction. But yeah. Okay. Variations are important because we don't want to have 5 million different builds. We want to use 2 or 3 of them and make them good for different versions of the game. We have some tougher content with the Terror Rifts. It's a bit more heavier than the open world. And I advise you 2 changes. For the open world, we want to be big to be fast. So we go with the Protector, Warband bonus, and the Brawler because both makes us bigger, so we are running faster. For the Terror Rifts, I would say go to Attacker and to the new Slayer Paragon tree in here to give you that extra bonus of damage to make sure that the mobs in the Terror Rifts really die. You are anyway fast enough, still fast enough there, and with that 2 things you can make sure that the stuff is really dying. So, very, very nice build. Let's look at the build overview. Yeah, you see. As already explained, we are now switching to the chains, of course, with the Wrath, Sprint, Demoralize. We have the dot gems in here. I would advise you, if you have it, use the Jade. Why the Jade? Because people get infected by the Jade. And that's good if you missed out anything behind you. The Jade is making sure that the stuff behind you really dies. It's a good gem. If you have it, you can use it for the open world. Very, very good. For the essences, of course, all of the new new demoralize essences for the crit, for the speed, for the attack speed, and so on, to make your chains go faster with the promised sunrise now. It's really effective. Hell's Legacy to leave the trail with the sprint, and Sundered Legacy to burn while passing on the enemies. Brawler to make us faster. Check out to that additional effect that I think it was exploding of dots. And Angmet, Baron and Vithus to make good use of your sets and the dots. For Eternal Wrath Essence is good. Anyway good all of the time for the whole Barbarian thing. So if you have them, equip them. Sprint Essence Eternal stuff is not helping you here. So chillax with that very cool build, and thank you Indus for that video. So now we're coming to the juicy part. New stuff. Is it any good for PvP? Let's check out the Furious Charge essences. I tried it, of course, and that nice speed, knock up stuff, you can go like crazy, you can do stuff. But honestly, the damage is just once and it is too low. It's not like the whirly helicopter build for the monk, nothing like that. It's totally useless, honestly. Knock-up impact is too short. Yeah, he gets knocked up once, but it's only short. It's not a stun. It's nothing really worth it. And then you block 2 slots for that, just for a bit of movement that is not dealing any damage. So honestly, that stuff is out for PvP in my opinion. Next, the Sunder. Honestly, it could have been so cool. Why the hell did they make it that it just works when we actually are moving? Why is it not just permanently? It would be so nice. But as we can just use it for movement, we have to see that movement is needed. It means we can only use it with Whirlwind. Otherwise we are just moving around like crazy and not hitting, and then the damage is too low. So with Whirlwind itself it could be cool, but the Whirlwind itself is not working perfectly. The damage of that is still too low if we go with that. And it's blocking a Whirlwind slot, a very important Whirlwind slot. It's kind of not working for me in here. It blocks our movement. We cannot actually do anything that makes it work. So for me, out, not working. Next, we're coming to the cooler stuff, demoralize things. Let's look over the helmet first. It has that wind attack behind you. So again, just working while we move. Honestly. But it's not so bad. We can use it as an idea to create firestorms and so on, but we need the movement. So again, it's just working with Whirlwind. And to use Whirlwind, what do we need? We need to be immune to CC, otherwise we can't move. And look at the slot, it's a helmet, so we cannot use it here with Whirl, because we cannot use Whirl itself. Again, we need to run endlessly, and this is not producing any damage, so it's kind of out. Resolve blocks crit or immunity. Not the Krubersk Sneer, not the Terror Helmet, not whatever. It's kind of a totally wasted slot. For me, honestly, it's out for PvP. Brings us to the last 2 essences. Hopefully, there is something. Promised Sunrise, isn't it? Doesn't it sound like the stuff we need? So, those 2, they are really cool. Okay, they are now giving us a buff of our Demoralize. Anything you could think of with the Demoralize now makes finally sense because of that 2 essences. They give us crit, they give us attack speed, they give us movement speed. This is the stuff we actually need. So those 2 are our winners, and there are builds that makes totally sense in PvP with those 2 essences. What comes into my mind first? Of course, the Heartless Terror. It was honestly too weak in the past because we had a spot tusk and we had the hammer build which needed the crit. So there was nothing that really made sense with that helmet. It was, the damage output was too low. it didn't even have the chance to include crit chance or anything if you didn't go with any leap nonsense or anything. So I think that essence is back. And the first build I'm going to present you is focused around that essence. This is kind of a safe play build. It's an all-round build you can use in battlegrounds to just have fun, to have impact, to actually matter in the battleground. Honestly, it is mostly focused on the mid-resonance, lower mid-resonance. It's not a high-resonance build, so I think the hammer is you cannot beat the hammer on the high-resonance level. But for the smaller guys, that build could really help you. Heartless Terror, Shackled Fate, Bergbreaker. Those three crazy essences that are really strong and should be used in any build, in my opinion, now that we can boost it. We have a damage boost in here from the sets. So when you think about the 4-piece Vithus, 4-piece mount banks everyone used in the past, with that new Terra demo essences on the offhand, which gives us attack speed and everything now, we can go away from the 4-piece Vithus and can go to a 2-piece Vithus, 2-piece Banquet, for example, or any other combination. So we get another damage boost just by getting that attack speed from somewhere else. Next, we could improve that build because we are now going into a primary attack build again. Yes, we have passive damage with the chains and the berg and so on, but we can move freely, so we can actually hit primary attacks. And this is maybe the biggest change or the biggest damage source that could a bit compare to the hammer, because we can work with knockbacks, like with the Paragon specialization that gives you the knockbacks that charges up on primary attacks and movement. So it's really good to keep people at the position. You pull them in, then you knock them back with your primary, and during that time you're constantly hitting, so you can really produce a good amount of damage. Okay, that build we are going to look over the build overview, of course, next, but that build has a nice possibility to switch into more damage focus or defense focus. And when you look at the offhand, the Promised Sunrise, you could switch it to the Burden of Nothingness. So you can switch between I want to do more damage, be faster, or having that 20% damage reduction on the enemies. The same goes for the shoulder. You could say Nature's Temper, additional damage on primary attack during the Wrath, or Loathsome Lamina to give us another shield. Passive mode again. And the same goes for the Banquet of Ice. When you say, okay, I switch out the offhand, I lose the attack speed, you can go back to the 4-piece Vithus, of course. When you look at the past, that build doesn't give you any chance of reducing damage, so this already is new in that build. And by going into the Promised Sunrise now, you can change it, of course, into more attack focus. So you have a lot of possibilities to play around with that build. So build overview for my updated immunity damage build here. Of course, Undying Rage, Wrath, Spears and Demo to make it work. Gems, it's interesting because you can work pretty good with auxiliary gems in here. You don't have to build them up, all of them, but those 3 gems work pretty good as aux gems. So the Gloom Cask for we are dealing primaries freely because we are immune to anything. So Gloom Cask is really nice. We have a good attack speed and producing additional damage. Same goes for the Starfire and the Maw. Both of them works perfectly as auxiliary gems. And they help you to pin down the enemies to actually deal primary attacks. So it's pretty nice. And then for the rest, of course, go for crit and go for damage. So roiling, lament and everything, the pain clasp, the fang and all of those damage gems should be in your focus to actually deal a good amount of damage. Gladiator is a good Paragon tree for here because of the cheat death, and then the Grizzled Veteran that gives you that damage reduction once you kill anyone. It's really nice, and we need that knock up specialization here. Essences, Heartless Terror definitely, with the Promised Sunrise and the Iron Tusk to give us the crit and the speed. Then we have Shackled Fate with Burying Talons to give us the pull and the damage bonus. Nature's Temper and Rending Bite to give us a dot. That's why we go with the 2-piece Banquet, and the Nature's Temper to give additional damage on the primary attack. Every primary attack then is triggering the Bergbreaker as well, because we are dealing damage to us and the Bergbreaker retaliates. So it's pretty nice combination in here. And the Bergbreaker itself, it's super strong because of just high damage, of course. Eternal Attribute should be Wrath. It's pretty important in that build. When you pull enemies to you and you do that passive AoE attack, it's hitting hard, so go with that. Yeah, and that's it. It's a really cool build. It makes a lot of fun to play because it's easy to play. It's dealing now a good amount of damage. You can move freely, you can do tactics, you know, and it's just a lot of fun. So guys, while we're at it, I mean, we are looking at Demoralized. What can we possibly make as a build to make use of that 2 essences to make Demoralize a cool thing? I think we have forgotten to look at the older last patch essence, Terror Unburdened. That thing is really, yeah, it's nagging me. It tells me, make a build with me that actually works. I don't know if you guys already realized, and honestly I did not for a long time. Got a conversation with my buddy Reckless here that highlighted to me, why are you not making a build with that essence? It has a full 100% immunity to anything, and you can use all of your skills as you want. And I said, wait, what? Because I forgot that this build, the Unburdened Terror, is really giving you 100% immunity to any CC. You can, while this is active, channel your Whirlwind freely. You can channel your sprint, the new Furious Charge. You can actually, he's just dealing that constant primary attacks the whole time. It's not a primary attack, it's a skill damage, but still that attack without getting stopped. So it's kind of crazy. It's a very nice thing. And the problem was, when we are using this, we didn't have any cool perks. No buffs or anything. And now we have attack speed, movement speed, and crit. And this sounds like a really good way to go. So I tested out a lot of stuff. And the point is, what could you do? Utilizing that immunity to any CC while it's getting very hard to control. You can work with the Whirlwind. And I know a lot of you did this in the past, but I think it gets a chance now to look at this again. And here I need your help, okay? I looked a lot at the different combinations. I tried out so much, but I haven't found that 100% solution, okay? I just have nice ideas that I want to present you here now in the next minutes, but I didn't found the real cool thing. So please give that helmet a chance. Look at it and tell me, reach out to me in Discord or in the game or here in the comments, wherever, and tell me if you have found a nice combination that actually works in PvP. Any idea helps me, okay? Just push it out. What I have looked at, of course, the Whirlwind with a fallow field to move freely, endlessly, to make use of that immunity at the attacks when I need them, and the damage reduction, of course, of 35%. I think it's crazy. I tried out the new charge pants, of course, and I tried to just make use of the new of the whole resolving dot idea with the Lion's Mane. So being just tanky, standing there, not controllable, yes, but doing the resolve stuff. So that was the plan, and the idea that interested me the most was the world idea, because Whirlwind is kind of the biggest skill of Barbarian. It's the coolest skill, and I wanted to utilize that, so I started with that. We start with the buffed immunity, and I'm going to show you that build now, and tell me your ideas and your feedback, please, in the comments then. Okay, Terror Unburdened, of course, main piece to get that immunity and the attacks and everything. Then we go with the Promised Sunrise to give us the additional attack speed, and the Iron Tusk to do with the crit. Here you already could switch if you want to be even more tankier. The Burden of Nothingness could be an idea or not, but this is of course the core. Then Unstoppable Whirl. We have the fallow field to move endlessly with our whirl, and the Weight of War, because we can then whirl around enemies if we hit them and increase the crit chance they or the chance of anyone hitting that enemy to do a crit. So it's nice. Again, you could have a variant in here going with that Lone Castle to block projectiles, but I like the Weight of War even more. Why? Because of our finishing move. We go with a hammer, Flicker Tone. It can be spammed while we are at the Terror Unburdened effect. So we cannot control our movement, but we can actually activate the hammer. The idea is with a hammer then, because we are blocking all of the main and offhand slots, to go with a Renitent Rage to make it a real killer. And yeah, you see what I did there. Hopefully you see it. We are just activating the skill. We are immune. We are whirling into the enemies. We are letting the primary attack smash and activating the hammer here and there. And navigate out of that with the whirl again when we need to get out of it. That's the core idea. Let's look at the build overview. So sadly I didn't find anything to put at the pants, so we're leaving that slot empty in here. It was the play around the Sunder. That was an alternate idea here, the new shoulder. Without the whirl, of course, but there is an essence you can put in for the pants. It's not working because that shoulder is a different kind of Sunder, or I don't know how they explain it, but it's actually not working together. But still the awakening cooldown bonus is working, and that's nice. That's where you still can, for any Sunder build around the shoulder, you could still use the pants to have a 10% cooldown reduction. As a little side note. Okay, so yeah, essences, we just talked about it. The Weight of War is really nice with the Iron Tusk. So we wall at the enemy, we are constantly doing our primary attacks then, and what we have is, with that combination, a perfect base for our hammer. We have a very high crit chance on that enemy. And those two crit chances are not stacking on us. It means if you put that 24% directly on our crit chance, if we stack them, we only get like 8 to 10% of it or something. But because it's on the enemy, it's working differently. It's like two calculations. First you have our crit chance, and then you have that crit chance again. So it's really helping to do crits. Very good damage output. Yeah, as gems, of course, we need the roiling. The roiling is always good to have an additional crit. We need something to pin them down again. The Orcs, Starfire and more are good, and damage overall with the Painclasp is nice. The Moss Thorn is something I can really suggest to you, because if the enemies are running from you and that thing is active, you deal that counter attacks. And the counter attacks do charge your Flicker Tone. So it's a good thing to get that up, even if your whirl is not hitting and they are faster than you. You still get that hammer up, and once you get them anyhow into range, you can instantly hammer them down instead of waiting to charge your hammer up first. It's a cool thing. Go with a Brawler to get more speed while you're whirling. Benefactor is good to have a shield, and of course the 4 for a Whirlwind range is helping you here. We don't have a Wrath in here, okay? So movement is happening after activating the Demoralize. Then you keep whirling, because then you're making use of the 30% attack speed on your whirl and you move faster. As you can whirl endlessly, you just whirl your ways through the map, okay? That's the idea how the movement is working. Cool. That's it. So, long video short, I like the new stuff. It really opens a new playstyle on our Barbarian and makes at least PvE life easier. Thanks again to Auroth and Indus for that great videos, and if you liked this video here, leave me a like and subscribe to get more content like this. See you soon guys in Battleground.